Chair Suara kind of had talked to you about a topic to talk about,
Yep.
to share. So I'll turn it over to you, and you can introduce your other folks.
My name is Rachel Ann Elrod. I represent District 2, which is mostly southeast Nashville. I'm also board chair. Vice chair is Frida Player, who a lot of y'all know as well from District 7.
Wonderful chair and vice chair. Excuse me.
Thank you. We are happy to be there. We have had lots of focus in different discussions about how we're going to work with the Education Committee this year. Councilmember Suara really wants us to start coming to some of the committee meetings to be of a resource and benefit to y'all, and also to help you kind of know what our priorities or challenges are, basically so we're not strangers. That seems to be kind of the goal, which is a fair and good goal, we believe. So today, it seems like it was mostly an introduction to who is this girl, and then it was BEP, because last year y'all had, and excuse that my writing utensil is a marker. I was a teacher that runs through and through.
And it's orange, so we really appreciate that. Go Vols.
Obviously. It's been a good season. So the biggest discussion seemed to be about our BEP funding that we had last year, where we had to ask for the adjustment of funds. So the reason we had to ask for the adjustment of funds was because there was an enrollment difference because of our state-run charter schools. We had been running our numbers off of what the state had given us in advance, and also what they had been using throughout their TISA legislation, as they were talking about enrollment and projected numbers. So we used all of that information from last year, and there was a lot of discussion about enrollment and what that would look like in numbers because BEP changed into that TISA funding. Mm-hmm. However, those numbers seemingly were different than when they actualized them and gave them to us a few weeks later. And so those numbers were different when we got them, and that's why it was a later conversation than any of us really wanted. What we're doing this year is, frankly, we're choosing to stick with the numbers that we know, and we're not just guaranteeing or counting the numbers that are coming from the state. We're trying to be conservative with those numbers, but also make sure we're paying attention to any transitions into charter schools, particularly those state-run ones, since that's where the numbers came from that were different when they came to actualization.
So, since part of it's about enrollment, and I remember Mr. Henson talking about three things that affected it, and state-run charters was one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think one of them had to do with, like for a while, there was a no-harm policy that the state kind of
hold harmless.
Hold harmless, thank you. Mm-hmm. That the state pulled back, and was it like just general attrition to other charter schools? Or?
I thought it was mostly the state-run.
Yeah, state-run charters and, and then the enrollment in the Achievement School District as well.
Oh,
okay.
The ASC.
Gotcha.
I sometimes lump them in accidentally.
And so, since part of it had to do with enrollment, what do we know what our enrollment ended up being? Was it above where it ended last year, or?
We came in just right around that number, correct?
Yeah, we have increased
That
enrollment since last year. We're just above 80,000 at the 40-day count, which is terrific.
Yeah.
And we're that's separate and apart from the other enrollment that's increasing in state-run charter schools.
I think the last number I saw was right before 81,000.
That's not including the charter schools.
That includes district-run charter schools,
but
not state-run
but not all
charter
state.
schools.
Can I ask a question about one of the charter schools? So the ASD school district, had 10 years, it was my understanding, to get the grades up, and the Newey's Bend Lead Charter School is a neighborhood charter school. I don't know what that means. I'd love to know if you know. And now that they got their grades up, will they continue to be a charter school? Will they now be a district-run school? What's the deal?
Well, the ASD originally had 4 years, then became 10 years. To my knowledge, Neely's Bend, they're still planning on keeping it a part of the ASD. There's not a plan otherwise, unless there's something I don't know.
So you're great on your history. The state is rethinking how they're looking at the Achievement School District, have said that they're going to be rolling back, but have not specifically determined exactly how those schools would come back, and what the board action would be at that point.
say, we haven't heard how they're gonna operationalize that or.
And what does it mean to be a neighborhood charter school?
You want me to take a stab
You're
at it?
welcome
Yeah.
to.
So the achievement, most charter schools, as you know them, are schools that are without a zone. And so they're completely an optional school. There are a few charter schools, those in the ASD and a couple of others, that took over a school that had a zone around it. And so when they're referencing a neighborhood charter school, they're referencing a charter school that has a school zone. And so if a student is enrolled, it lives in that zone, their default is to that charter school. So there's 2 achievement school districts run charter schools through the LEAD network, and then LEAD also has the old Cameron College Prep middle school, and then there's also KIPP Kirkpatrick over in East Nashville that is like that.
So in neighborhood charter schools, the neighborhood has to go to the charter school unless the parent can drive them elsewhere, or somebody else besides the parent.
Of course. They have to provide their own transportation.
Thank you.
Enrollment.
Got it.
I apologize. I was in another meeting. Can we answer that question again? I don't know. I came in on the tail end and I want to make sure I understand what this is.
I had asked about the middle school in my district, which is Neely's Bend Middle School.
Neely's been in Canada.
Neely's Bend Lead. And it's a neighborhood charter school, so the students are zoned for it, and they go to it, and they're picked up by the bus, but not MNPS bus, to go there. And if they want to go elsewhere, they can lottery into some other school, but they would have to provide their own transportation.
Basically,
Thank
what is
you.
a neighborhood charter school?
I've never heard of a neighborhood charter school
We
before.
don't have many.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I'll ask my questions to you later.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question, because I don't want this to end without doing it. I am glad that the conversation happened about you all coming to the meetings to be here when we have questions. We tried to do that several times with the last committee. And the person at the district that we contacted would never get back to Ms. Hayes to be able to set up something. So we had a problem setting up something. So who specifically do we contact for that so that that can happen?
And that would be me. I'd be glad to, and I'll reach out to Ms. Hayes, make sure she knows she
Okay.
can reach out to me.
So you weren't the person that she was contacting before and didn't get it? Okay,
No.
thank you, because we tried several times to do that after we had the superintendent here.
Yeah.
And the person never, okay, thank you.
Glad to, and I want to commend the committee. Y'all have done a great job of meeting with the school board over lots of virtual sessions, lots of sessions with the community. Y'all have done a terrific job working together, and y'all should be commended for that.
I'm so sorry that was the experience. Under Councilmember Dreffel and Councilmember Evans, we started having those types of virtual sessions and trying to have a more collaborative conversation, frankly, just so we knew each other better. And so I'm sorry that didn't continue, but absolutely Hank is a good person to speak to. We also have an advocacy committee, and that's Emily Masters, who chairs that, and so Emily is a great resource, and always me.
So if he reaches out to Rosie, I think that's good. And I don't know, because it may be that they want to keep having virtual ones, I don't know. But when we have person-to-person ones, then that's good that we have somebody now that will respond back and.
I trust Hank on that.
And I know for a while, like I want to say the first year, like Mark North was the government relations representative, and we kind of knew to reach out to him.
Yes.
And he's moved on to a
Athletic
position with
director.
athletic director. I run into him at my daughter's cross-country meets.
Yeah.
But
The
so,
one told us.
just out of curiosity, since we're on, and Hank's always very responsive when I reach out to him. But is that position going to be replaced, or is that you? Or
It will be replaced. We've got it open right now. If you know of anybody who wants to apply, we're be interviewing for it very soon. I'm very eager for that position to get filled. Either way, that person will get to serve on. I'll get to serve on the team with that person, and you can still reach out to me.
That
Gotcha.
person's being retired.
Sure. Councilmember Spalta.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, school board member, for being here today. I guess I just had a kind of concern, and I wonder if our committee committee, along with the school board, could try and figure some things out. I was talking to an MNPS teacher just a couple of days ago, and there was some concerns about, I guess, management, I would call it, and just the way sometimes we promote people from within, etc. And so I was hoping to have just an idea of the way promotions happen within MNPS, what our HR policies are when our staff in our schools have concerns, not just the teachers, but all staff. Because it seems to be a concern in several schools. Some of them are small, that could probably be addressed pretty quickly, but there seems to be an underlying issue. And it's not just a MMPS sort of thing, it's in all of our departments sort of thing. So if we could have just an understanding of how people are promoted from within, and then our HR policies, I think that would be something that would be important to look at.
And I have a question going with that, just real quick. Is that in your MOU? Is promotion part of your MOU?
It is part of our handbook with at least our support employees.
Okay.
I just noticed
Yeah.
that recently.
Your MOU, so it is not part of the MOU.
Well, I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I know for sure it's part of our handbook with our support employees. I need to clarify whether it's also in
Because
our
I just want to be careful that we don't mess with MOU stuff, that's all.
I'm not sure that it is. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get back to you.
It may not be.
I will follow up specifically about those policies, because I unfortunately off the top of my head don't know. But we do have our Leadership Institute, which is a fairly newer process that we have that we're quite proud of, to try to help us build and create our own pipelines of different leadership positions, not just principals, but also whether it's instructional leadership as well. So we have been working really hard on doing that kind of grow your own. That's not only just for leadership, but also for teachers and for paras and all of our positions. But I'll find out what specific policies we have for that.
Perfect, thank you.
But also, I mean, y'all are very responsive council members, but feel free to just pass this on to either us or your fellow board member. I mean, it's not y'all's job to have to answer all those things.
Yeah,
and
I think there's a concern about retaliation, and so,
It's always a fear.
yeah.
I mean, when I was a teacher at a different district a million years ago, that was always the concern then too. So I get that. But if you're comfortable sending that to us, always do that, and I'll send you what we have.
Perfect, thank you.
Two questions. If there are concerns about crossing guards at schools, or more so lack of crossing guards at schools, who do we contact for that?
That would be the Metro Nashville Police Department.
Is that the police
Our great
department?
partners in that work, and we're thankful to them. But they report to MMPD.
Okay, thank you.
And
then-
they're also trained by MNPD.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, because I was told MMPD, and then I heard school board, so I just wanted to clarify that. And then the other question, if there are concerns about a particular school bus stop location not being safe for students, who do we contact for that?
You would ideally forward that onto your school board member, so we can follow up with that within our school bus depot to
Okay.
find out that, because that would be not just a depot issue, but that'd also be a security issue, because we
Okay.
gotta figure out what does that mean.
Okay.
Is that like a bullying situation? Is that why it's not secure?
No,
Or is it
like
like a physical safety concern?
Physical safety concern of the physical location of where
Where it
where
is.
they're being picked up.
Then that's us. I mean, if you'll let us know so we can follow up with our bus depot, we have a big department for that, to kind of go over not only the logistics of the mini buses that we have, but also, of course, the pickup and drop off and what those look like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it correct to say that in 2024, all elementary schools will have fifth grade, or is that 2025?
Well,
Or other?
are we saying 2024?
So not this fall 23, but the fall of 24, they will all have fifth grade and elementary.
Yes.
It would be supported by capital requests that are coming to be able to accomplish that. So you all have the power to make that even more accessible to students. But that is our commitment as 24.
So is that in your capital request then for?
Yes.
That's right.
and our magnet schools are doing that last, and so that's the kind of pattern.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank y'all for sharing and answering those questions. We appreciate, I know Chair Swara has a long list of like people she wants to invite so we can talk about education and brainstorm to make our great schools even better.
Happy to be here. Happy to see everybody.
I also want to make sure that we acknowledge Mr. Wallace, Robert Wallace with the Mayor's Office. What is your title? Senior Education Advisor. And I had a great meeting with him and talked his ear off about education stuff and look forward to more. And I bet Chair Swara wants to invite you back. And if you want to say it, we do have a bill we need to pass or need to consider. And but if you want to make a few comments.
Well, I'll just really quickly say thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm happy to be in this space. I'm very interested in connecting one-on-one. I know I've connected with a few of you one-on-one so far, but I'm on a listening tour, so I want to listen and learn as much as to as many people as much as I can about what's happening in your district related to education, so that we can continue to put our brains together and minds together to solve these challenges. But please do not hesitate to reach out on the first floor, robert.wallace@nashville.gov. I think I've reached out to nearly everyone.
And we've met a few
I've
times.
met with nearly half of you all, and so please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm excited to connect with each of you.
Dr. Wallace
Thanks.
has been an excellent partner for MMPS thus far, and we're thankful he's in that role. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. So we do have a bill. I have signed on as a sponsor since Chair Swara isn't here. It is BL 2022-1534, and it approves and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept a donation of property consisting of approximately 9.53 acres located at 1209 Tulip Grove Road, 1213 Tulip Grove Road, and 0 Tulip Grove Road for use as a proposed school site, so a donation of property. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? I think Mr. Clay might have a little information about it.
Yes, this was under the old system where under certain conditions, a developer could donate property to fulfill their requirements. This site was big enough to literally put an elementary school if we need it, and we're banking the land in the meantime.
Is there any responsibility at this point in time?
The responsibility is with Metro Nashville Public Schools.
So any mowing, any trash, whatever will now be,
That's right.
okay.
Clay's gonna get us more out there.
Yeah, I'll just get my mower out.
It's only 9 acres. It's a push mower, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Weed eat,
Yeah.
okay.
Right, anything else about the bill? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
You see?